Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with a giant of literature, a man whose words captured the rhythm of a people and the soul of a movement. Welcome, Langston Hughes.
Thank you, Calvin.
For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
I am Langston Hughes. I've spent my life as a writer, a poet, a playwright, and a storyteller, trying to capture the heart and the rhythm of the Black experience in America. I've been called a leader of the Harlem Renaissance, but really, I was just someone trying to put the truth of my people on the page.
When and where were you born?
I was born on February 1st, 1902 in Joplin, Missouri.
What was your given name at birth?
My full name was James Mercer Langston Hughes.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
It's a heavy name to carry, isn't it? It comes from my family heritage. I was named after my father, James Nathaniel Hughes, and my uncle, John Mercer Langston, who was a significant political figure. My grandmother, Mary Langston, was very proud of that history, and she made sure I knew it.
What was your hometown like growing up?
It was a bit of a patchwork. I didn't stay in one place long. After my parents separated, I spent my early years with my grandmother in Lawrence, Kansas. Those dusty streets and the stories she told me about the fight to end slavery really shaped me. Later, I lived in places like Lincoln, Illinois, and eventually Cleveland, Ohio, which felt more like the city life where I started to find my own voice.
What was your family life like?
It was complicated. My parents' separation meant I was often raised by my grandmother, and later my mother, while my father moved abroad. There was a lot of distance between us, both physically and emotionally. It taught me independence early on, though it also left me feeling quite lonely at times.
What kind of kid were you?
I was a reader. Because I was often alone, books became my best friends. I was observant, quiet, and perhaps a little too introspective for my age.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
I think my biggest fear was being misunderstood, or worse, being invisible. Growing up, I felt a deep sense of isolation, so I wanted to make sure my voice, and the voices of the people I saw around me, would be heard.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
Before I ever thought of being a poet, I just wanted to be someone who mattered. I wanted to tell stories that would make people feel less alone.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
I love my literature classes, of course. Anything that allowed me to explore language was a favorite. I wasn't much for the rowdy playground games. I preferred the quiet of the library.
What was your first job?
I worked a variety of odd jobs. I was a cook, a busboy, and even a sailor. Being a deckhand on ships allowed me to travel the world from Africa to Europe. It was a rugged life, but it was there, working on the docks and at sea, that I truly met the world.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
It wasn't one big explosion, it was a slow realization. When I started writing down the things I saw, the way the music sounded in a Harlem club, or the way a man felt working on the river, I realized I was listening to a rhythm that others were ignoring. I wasn't just observing life, I was trying to translate it.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Walking away from my father's plan for me, he wanted me to study mining engineering, a respectable, stable career, but I hopped on a train to New York instead. It felt like a small, impulsive act of rebellion at the time, but it set me on the path to becoming a writer.
What was your biggest break?
Finding my home in Harlem. When I arrived there in the 1920s, I found a community of artists and thinkers who understood what I was trying to do. Publishing The Weary Blues was a turning point, but the real break was finding an audience that resonated with the jazz-inspired poetry I was writing.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
Just trying to survive, really. Being a Black writer in America meant facing walls everywhere I turned. I dealt with poverty, the sting of prejudice, and the constant doubt from people, including my own father, who didn't believe a Black poet could ever make a living.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Oh, many times when you're broke, tired, and your work is being rejected, the idea of giving up is always sitting right there at the table with you. But I couldn't stop. The poems kept coming and I had to get them out.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I was a disciplined writer. I didn't wait for the muse to strike. I sat down every single day and worked. Whether I was on a ship, in a cramped apartment, or at a desk, I kept a routine. Consistency is the only thing that keeps the ink flowing.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I would have been a traveler no matter what, maybe a teacher or a clerk, but I would have always found a way to be around people and their stories.
What was your life like before fame?
It was restless. I was constantly on the move, searching for a place where I felt I belonged. It was a life of train tickets, ship cabins, and borrowed rooms, but it was also a time of great discovery.
How did relationships change after success?
Fame is a funny thing. It creates a sort of distance. People start looking at you differently, not as Langston, but as the writer. It made me cherish my genuine friends even more, the ones who knew me before anyone knew my name.
Did fame bring happiness?
It brought opportunities, which I'm grateful for. It allowed me to travel and speak my mind, but happiness is a different animal. Happiness is found in the work itself, not in the accolades that come after.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
Being put in a box, people wanted me to be one thing, a specific kind of poet, and they were often frustrated when I wanted to write about something else. You become public property in a way, and that can be very draining.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Some thought I was always a light-hearted, happy-go-lucky person because of the jazz rhythms in my poems. They didn't always see the sadness or the struggle underneath.
What was your darkest moment?
There were times during the political investigations in the 1950s when I felt very targeted and alone. Having to account for my words and my past beliefs was a very difficult and isolating experience.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I don't believe in dwelling on regrets, but I do wish I could have repaired the bridge with my father. We just never could see eye to eye.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
People often thought I was just a poet of the Harlem Renaissance, as if that were the only thing I was. I was a writer for my whole life in every city I lived in, and my interests were always much wider than just one time or one place.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong and how did you handle it?
When I was in Europe and couldn't find work on a ship to get home, I was stranded and penniless. I had to swallow my pride, lean on the kindness of strangers, and keep writing until I could figure out my next move. You learn to make peace with the uncertainty.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It made life more comfortable, certainly, but it didn't change who I was inside. I still felt that same restlessness and that same drive to observe the world.
What personal battles were you fighting privately?
I think we all fight the battle of loneliness, and I was no different. Trying to balance the need for solitude to create and the human need to be part of a community was a constant struggle.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My grandmother, Mary Langston, she taught me that our history, our heritage, and our resilience were things to be proud of. She was the first storyteller I ever knew.
What was life like in your final years?
I kept writing until the very end. I was always working on something, a new play, a column, or a collection of poems. I was surrounded by friends in Harlem and still very much engaged with the world, though my health began to slow me down.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was always juggling a few things. I was still writing columns, editing, and working on plays. I didn't believe in retiring, not from life and not from the work.
When and where and how did you pass away, and how old were you?
I passed away in New York City in May 1967 at the age of 65 due to complications from surgery related to cancer.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I really enjoyed the quiet. Despite being associated with the bustle of jazz clubs and the energy of Harlem, I found my greatest peace when I could just sit quietly and observe.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Oh, there were always rumors about my political leanings and my personal life. People love to speculate when they don't have the full story. I learned long ago to let the work speak for itself.
What was your most unique habit?
I always carried a notebook, everywhere. I never wanted to lose a thought, a scrap of overheard conversation, or a rhythm I felt in the air.
What was your favorite food?
I was a simple man when it came to meals. I loved a good, hearty meal that felt like home. Nothing fancy, just something authentic.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
I spent so much time in Harlem, there were many little spots where the coffee was strong and the conversation was better.
What was your favorite book?
That changed depending on the day, but I always had a deep respect for the poets who came before me. Whitman, Sandburg, Dunbar, they paved the way for all of us.
Did you have any known rivalries?
There were always debates in the literary world about the right way to write or the right stories to tell. I had my share of disagreements with other writers, but I'd rather call those intellectual exchanges than rivalries.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
People think of me as very serious, but I found so much humor in the everyday absurdities of life. I used to write these humorous sketches about a character named Simple. We talk about everything, from the price of a haircut to the troubles of the world, and it was my way of laughing at the things that would otherwise make you cry.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
I think the funniest moments were always just observing the characters I met on the streets of Harlem. You'd overhear a conversation and it was better than any script I could have written. The wit of the common person always beat the wits of the critics.
Did you ever prank someone?
I was more of a satirist than a prankster. I'd rather use a clever word to expose a foolish idea than play a practical joke.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
I wasn't really a spender of outlandish things. If I had money, I spent it on travel. A train ticket to a new city was always the best purchase I could make.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Keep your eyes on the work, not the reward. Success is fickle, but the work, that is yours forever. Stay true to your own voice, even when the world tries to tell you to change your tune.
That's beautiful advice, Langston. Do you have any closing remarks about our interview or the stories you've shared that you'd like to share with our listeners before you go?
Just this, keep listening to the stories around you. Every person you pass on the street has a poem in them, if you're willing to hear it. Thank you, Calvin, for having me. It's been a pleasure to reflect on the road I've traveled.
It has been an absolute honour. Thank you so much for joining us, Langston. That wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.